Going to call to order the intergovernmental meeting. It is Monday, August 11th, 2025. It is 1:32 p.m. We are in person at Rebecca Hall at 113 West Columbia Avenue and also hybrid online. With that call to order, we will then do roll call. We will start with the town of Telluride. And starting to my left.
Okay, Ashley Von Sprecken.
Me and Faith.
Teddy Erico. And I know we have Elena Levin online. Kevin Geiger is online as well. And Zoe Denal is in person here. We will then pass it over for our roll call for the town of Mountain Village.
Marty.
Hi. Martinique Prohaska, Mayor. We have Rick Gomez, Tucker Magid, Pete Dupre, Aline Arguelles, Amy Ward for staff, and Paul Weiser, town manager. And if I missed anyone, pipe up.
I think Harvey just joined.
Okay, and Harvey as well. Thanks, Rick.
Okay, great. Then we will slide over to San Miguel County.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lance Waring here. Commissioner Gleason is doubtful to join us, as is Commissioner Brown, but I am representing along with Mike Bordonia and Carmen Warfield.
And we have several members of our staff in the audience for our presentation. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks everybody for the roll call. I realize it is a little cumbersome with so many people online today, but that's just how it goes. That gets us to agenda item number 1, work sessions. 1A, introduction of new Indigenous Speaker Working Group Leader, Maria Stark, and Lance Waring is here to introduce.
Thank you, Mayor Erico. I am very pleased to introduce Maria Stark, who is going to replace Art Goodtimes, who has been leading our Indigenous work group for many years. Maria, excuse me, that's a tricky name, but I'm going to get it right, is sitting right beside me. And instead of going through her CV, I'd just ask her to introduce herself to the group.
Fantastic.
Here's Maria.
Hi, everyone. I think I know a lot of the people on line here. So I have a long background in leadership in the public sector and actually have some experience in engaging with Indigenous tribes across a few counties, not in Colorado, but in other states. And anyway, Art, who's my brother-in-law, asked me to take over from his work, and I was delighted to step into the role and have been looking at ways to bring some more resources to the effort. And we're already generating ideas with a bunch of people for things we might do. But first, we're going to stick with trying to ensure that we have leaders of the Ute tribes attend at least 1 or 2 of the intergovernmental working groups. And then, you know, depending on resources and interest, an expansion of the free ski day, perhaps a half-day summit, and you know, possibly renaming some of the unnamed peaks with the consultation of the tribes. So lots of possibilities, but you know, I know that it can be very challenging to engage because, you know, it's not necessarily their top priority. So it's proceed with respect and openness and curiosity, and see what we can do. We'd also like to do a visit to, you know, this group to visit 1 or 2 of the tribes on their premises. Any questions?
Great. Thank you so much. Anyone from any of the 3 government entities have any questions before we open up for public questions or comments, since it is a work session? Any questions from you guys?
Welcome, Maria. Excited for you to be in this role.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you for jumping in. Seeing no questions or hands raised online, we do have a member from the public who would like to comment on this. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Erico. Just as a personal aside, I have a sister-in-law who was also a member of Art Good Times Church as she was growing up. I don't know if it would be that same church there in San Mateo or not. She's of the age, and as a Catholic child, a Catholic late child, her siblings would have been roughly the same age as Mr. Good Times, or Mr. Bontempi as it was then. And just a quick suggestion. I think it would be appropriate, we've done a lot of talk about reaching out to the native tribes. But, I don't see any real action or money. And just a brainstorm idea, suggestion that has occurred to me is that we get some sort of a native facility where they can bring up their own people anytime they want. So, a boarding house for the tribes. And, we should also be doing more to encourage employment. There are a few people here, but very few. And, making sure we have the housing to do that as well. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Looks like we have a hand raised from Laura Thomas.
Yeah, welcome, Maria. I'm with Telsky, and I wondered if you have any contact information.
I don't yet, and I would love some. Thank you.
Oh, I meant from you to us.
Sure.
To be able
Yeah.
to connect with you.
Gonna put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
We don't have the chat open.
Whoops.
Oh, okay.
Laura, we can connect you.
I'll connect you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome. Appreciate both of those comments.
Any other questions from the public before, or comments before we move on to the next item on the agenda? Seeing none, we will go to work session item 1B, which is an update on the shed with communities that care. And we have Dawn Katz here. Hi, Dawn.
I am Dawn Katz. I am Communities That Care Manager for Tri-County Health Network. And I am excited to give you a little update on the shed. We haven't been open for very long, but as of today, I just looked up our attendance document, and we have 98 youth that have registered to use the shed, which is really amazing for only being open about 14 weeks now. We're seeing a lot of repeat students come in to the facility, middle and high school age. And it really has been just a great space for them to come and hang out. What we've noticed in the process, I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to read my quick report, but we are
Hey, Dawn, I'm going to interrupt you. Can you speak into the mic a little bit
Yes.
more?
Yes,
Thank
thank you. What we have noticed is that we get a little more engagement when we have specific programming in the shed. So we're creating some other activities. Our youth advisory board has each taken their role now is to host an evening at the shed. And so we brought in different ideas and activities, cupcake decorating, ping pong tournaments. Next month, we're hosting quite a few things around Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in partnership with Tri-County Health and Jamie Hurst. But we're really excited. We are so thankful to our partners, True North Youth Program, San Miguel Resource Center, 1-to-1, just for being there and being a trusted adult in the community to facilitate their activities there as well. So does anybody have any questions or anything specific you want to know about? And thank you for the shout out, Mr. Mayor, in the case of.
No problem. Marty has her hand raised. And so we'll go to Marty and then Ashley, if that's okay.
Hi, Dawn. I saw that you were advertising for a position. Has hiring continued to be a challenge? And do you foresee that impacting the ability to have the shed open for all the hours that you had hoped?
Yeah, great question. So we did hire Alexa Calvo, who was our CTC youth intern for the last 2 years, to be the shed supervisor. And this summer, we had 2 students that were home from college working there. And so we're just trying to fill that spot. So currently we're looking for someone to help out 2 days a week. I don't necessarily think it's going to be an issue. I think we'll find someone. We need to be really picky about who's in that space. And we've had some interest from some younger students, but I think we're trying to stick with our youth serving partners right now and continuing that volunteer position.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Ashley, you have a question still?
Yeah,
Comment?
it's a question/comment. I think you guys are doing a great job, and I really appreciate this space, especially kind of for those older kids in our community where there maybe isn't as defined space for them. I was looking at the calendar, which I think is great. One thing that I was thinking maybe you have like a movie night on here, but seeing as our community doesn't have a movie theater currently, that might be some fun programming, especially going into like winter months and stuff like that, where kids are looking for indoor stuff. Maybe like hosting more frequent movie nights might be great, because I think that that's also something that, you know, any kid feels comfortable coming to a movie night, maybe not crafting or cooking or stuff like that. So just thought I'd throw that out there, because I did see the one night, but I was like, I feel like that's a hole that could definitely be filled with this space.
Yeah, and that's the exact conversation that the Youth Advisory Board had as well. It's like during these winter months when there's not really anything to do after 6 p.m. outside, continuing to have those, maybe it's every Friday night.
Yeah, it gets dark early,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
great
thanks for
job.
that.
And I'm excited to see this continue to get used.
Thanks, Ashley.
Any other questions? Anyone online from our governmental entities before we open it up for public questions or comments?
Well, just a quick plug. The new Jurassic World movie is playing tonight for anyone who has kids up here in Mountain Village at the conference center. Doors at 6, movie at 7, and it is entirely free thanks to the TMBOA and the Tyrod Film Festival.
Fun. We're happy to share that on the Shed Instagram page.
And I don't have a question. I more so just want to have a comment. Thanks, Don, for everything that you and your team are doing down there for all the youth. It's nice to see how many kids are signing up.
Thanks, Rick.
Harvey, go ahead.
Yes, my question is, prior to the shed, at the various forums, the governments, we talked a lot about what would happen there, the programming and so forth. And I realize it's early, but, and I did read your report, but anything surprising you about how it's unfolding so far, or anything you didn't anticipate, question along those lines?
Sure. Yeah. So I think what we realized is opening in May was a really tricky time of year to open, as there was 1 month of school left, and then we were jumping right into summer programming. We still have a lot to learn, and we look forward to kind of growing with the Youth Advisory Board and taking their comments and suggestions. But we did, we've altered the hours a bit. We noticed that after about 7 p.m., no one was really coming. We wanted to have it open until 9 or 10. That could change in the winter, though. So we've all committed to being flexible with our hours of operation. We're currently open 6 days a week, and so we'd like to get to 7 eventually. But again, that's just staffing that we need to figure out. But yeah, what we've learned is be flexible and communicate with our partners. Having meetings with Youth Advisory Board and our youth serving organizations has been really helpful.
Great. Before we open up to the public, anyone else from the government entities that has a question or a comment?
I'll just make a quick comment and thank you to Dawn. And just so everyone in this group here is reminded. So now is the time. This presentation was triggered by the intergovernmental agreement, which automatically renews for next year. And thank you so much to Dawn for providing the operational budget for next year that we look forward to helping contribute as part of our budget process. And I'm sure the rest of the government entities are including that within their budget process as well.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. We're so grateful to all of you.
Anyone in the room or online as a member of the public have any questions or comments for Dawn? Seeing none, we will move on from this work session. Dawn, thank you very much for your time and presentation today.
Thank you.
Glad it's going that well to start, and we look forward to it being, bigger and better. That brings us to agenda item 1C, San Miguel County Housing Code Update, and we have Kay Simonson and Mike Bordonia. Jared is here as well for this presentation.
So.
Get away, Kate.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Kay Simonson, County Planning Director, and I'm going to take you through a bit of a presentation, just kind of keep us focused on what we have happening here. We are undertaking a housing code update. There's a lot of different things that have kind of led us to this point. Prop 123 passing and needing to address those requirements. The feedback and input we received regarding the community housing zone district, the East End master plan, and then of course the housing needs assessment. And so this slide has a little bit of information from the housing needs assessment, identifying that we do need an estimated 1,114 housing units by 2034. 218 of those would be in the unincorporated area, which is our area of focus. 195 jobs are unfilled annually due to housing barriers. And 62% of businesses can't retain employees due to lack of affordable housing. And of course, nearly half of our workers commute 25 miles or more to work. So we're faced with an opportunity here. The Proposition 123 unlocks future state funding as we work through compliance with that regulation. And also this project will help implement our existing community plans through concrete code changes. And it'll help enable diverse housing types, ADUs, tiny homes, starter homes, and workforce housing. So not looking for a one size fits all, but looking for all of the possible tools in the toolbox. And then working to reduce regulatory barriers and streamline the development processes so that housing can hopefully get built a little bit faster. So this project is funded by a Colorado Proposition 123 local planning capacity grant. We're working to meet the requirements for fast track funding eligibility through this project. We began in June 2025 with the selection of our consultant, Logan Simpson, and we'll be working on it through September of 2026. So about a 15-month process. And our goal is to enable more housing choices while preserving community character. The purpose of this is a comprehensive review of regulations that may unnecessarily constrain housing development in unincorporated areas. Identify specific barriers that make housing development unnecessarily difficult, expensive, or time-consuming. And engage property owners, developers, neighbors, and decision makers to create code amendments that can increase housing supply while maintaining appropriate community oversight. So this will be a community-driven process. Excuse me. There's a number of steps that we'll go through. And one of those, the first of that is to assess our current zoning regulations, our development standards, and our permitting processes. So we understand our baseline, where we're at now. And then the second part is identifying where unnecessary complexity, costs, or delays prevent housing production. And then the key part, the final step, is to remove these barriers by amending the land use code. We're at early phases now. We have no idea what that's going to look like when we get done. It's going to be, trying to find as many possible approaches as we can. So on the bottom left there, that's where we're at or we're going to be here shortly. We're getting ready to do community listening sessions and also select our strategic stakeholder roundtable members. And then we'll get into analyzing the housing constraints and opportunities significantly through a lot of outreach. And then in January through spring, we'll be looking at code barriers and solutions. So trying to move more towards, first learning, what do we need to do? How can we do it? Second part, how can we do it? How do we get there? And then the final part next spring into September or so, having actual review of the draft code amendment. And then we hope to have that updated at that point. As I said, this is a community engagement approach. We're trying to be very transparent about our trade-offs and our ways to participate, and we want to do the full spectrum of engagement. We want to inform, consult, involve, collaborate, and empower. We want to use as many methods and techniques as we can to hear from people. Our goal is to have a well-informed community decision that reflects our shared values and that's balanced. Excuse me. And that there's a clear understanding of trade-offs and impacts. This isn't a thing with a one-size-fits-all sort of solution, but it's a matter of coming to an understanding of how we got to where we're at and where we're going to go. So in our community-wide outreach, there'll be multiple engagement formats. We'll have community listening sessions. We'll do one-on-ones with people. We'll have focus groups. We'll have targeted sessions with stakeholders. There'll be public community events in different county areas. We'll have interactive activities, which could be mapping, visualization, ride-alongs on buses, things like that. Digital engagement through online surveys and comment portals. And then, of course, the government meetings, and there'll be some planning commission and board of county commissioner work sessions before we get to final adoption. The strategic stakeholder roundtable, or SSR, is what we're working on right now. And this is intended to be a collaborative working group to identify our housing barriers and develop practical solutions. And the member service community liaisons sharing information and gathering feedback. Right now we're accepting applications for that. We hope to have applications by August 20th. And then on August 27th, we'll take all those to the Board of County Commissioners for them to do the appointment. And we're looking for about 10 to 12 members, general citizens, to be part of this collaborative working group. And then also on the roundtable will be county staff, BOCC representation, Planning Commission representation, Town of Telluride, Town of Mountain Village, and SMRHA board. So, we could end up with about 20 people total by the time we get done. But we're hoping that we'll get a good mix of experience in that. As I said, it's an application-based process. We want balanced representation across the county. We're looking at about 6 meetings, and we'll be fully transparent in what happens in those meetings, with all materials and results posted shortly after. And we're looking for people from all geographies, economic sectors and experiences, and also their lived housing experience. So we're in phase 1 right now. We've been refining our schedule. We have a draft community engagement. Actually, it's not really draft at this point, although it is flexible. And our community engagement plan is posted on our website now. We've been defining the strategic stakeholder group and reviewing our existing plans and documents as well. We have to quantify what we have before we can really dive into it. And then our second phase, going through winter into spring, is the existing code analysis and constraints review, our public outreach series. There'll be 3 of those. and our preliminary code audit report. And then as we move into phase 3, we'll have a final audit report and code drafting. There'll be a public review process. So not only will we have those work sessions for the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners, but they'll be posted online for public review, and we'll always give at least 30 days prior to those hearings to gather input. And then final presentations in the fall, and going to the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. So with that, we're open to any questions. We do have an email address dedicated to this. It's housingupdate@sanmiguelcountyco.gov. And there's also a web page on the county planning page. You can link through there for the housing code update, and we'll be populating that with everything that we have as we move along. So, Jared, anything to add?
I think the only piece I would add is I first wanted to thank our town partners on this, already identifying staff to help participate with this process, because, Mountain Village, Town of Telluride are integral partners in all of this. Kay mentioned that there's 236 units that need to be built in the county, but we know our boundaries are a little, don't really matter when it comes to housing as much. We will have people who may want to move to Norwood, may want to move to Mountain Village, may want to move to Telluride, and we're all going to be working on those. And I appreciate the town's outreach already to this point to participate in this process and help us maybe identify some spots where we don't see those barriers to getting some more housing built. So.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll stay with the same format as the last agenda items, which is we'll go to government questions first, and then we'll open it up to the public. I've got a question first that I'm trying to, better understand, is trying to figure out, that the participation of those just over, 200 units into the overall piece of the pie. And if, in along of where those goals may sit in the near term versus the far term, and how, that number came up as something you guys could work with. Does that make sense?
No.
What was the question?
I'll simple it down. Where did you come up with the 200 number for the county's housing?
I believe that was the breakdown for units that need to be in or are dedicated to the county from the housing needs assessment. So it broke down the number of units per entity as one of the tasks in that document.
Per entity or per location?
Per location. So
my question piggybacks on Teddy's, because that was based on the housing needs assessment where that number came from, just pulled straight out of the housing needs assessment.
Right. And would you agree? Yes.
I think that the housing needs assessment needs, maybe a little bit more scrutiny and understanding. I think that, sure, 200 and I think 18 was what was put in this presentation. I guess my question to go along with that is, I know that Mountain Village is working on a project that is not in their boundaries, that is in unincorporated San Miguel County. So I guess my question is along with that project, is the feel, I guess it's like, I'm trying to figure out how all these pieces go together, because we just were told that we need 218 units. I know that Mountain Village is working on a project that is going to have more than that, or is proposed more than that in unincorporated San Miguel County. So it feels like maybe that number is being taken care of through that singular project there. Is that true? Do you guys feel that way, or do you feel like it has to be something built by the county in order to fulfill that 200 unit need?
If I may, I don't think it needs to be built by the county to count towards success in building housing. And again, as I mentioned, I think that there is the housing needs assessment spelled out, hard numbers, 218, 216, whatever it is. But we know those are just targets. right? That's a target that was developed over the time of that survey or of that product, the housing needs assessment. And we know as we go through the next 10 years, that's going to change for each one of our jurisdictions. And frankly, it really changes for all of us because if more housing moves out into unincorporated county, right, that's a win regardless because more people are being housed. Or if there's a really big project that gets completed by any one of the partners, that's a win, right? We'll be recalibrating along the way. But I think we're just looking for a trajectory of, well, if we hit that number, what did we do well? What didn't we do well? Do we need more, right? That's really how I have kind of taken that housing needs assessment and said, this is great. It's a point in time analysis. And we know it's going to change. And we know we're going to be trading back and forth, building together and doing different things to just attain the goal of building housing.
And Ashley's helping to clarify my brain a little bit. And I guess the point of my question to piggyback back on Ashley is as simple as if you already know what the number is that you've got in your hypothetical pipeline, it's significantly higher than 218 units. And so why would you even follow that number, right? If you look at San Bernardo and you looked at Deep Creek and you looked at Med Center and you looked at Ilium, could be double that number. I mean, so that's why I was a little confused by the number and sorry, I wasn't super clear how I asked it the first time.
So we were putting that in by, just way of background information and not necessarily, any sort of target that we're going to try and, make the code amendments fit. We're identifying that we know that there is an issue and there's going to be another component of, is it a housing capacity study?
The thing after the housing needs assessment, the action plan.
The
action plan.
So that will be a different piece of it. Doing the action plan, identifying, where we think housing can go and also potential numbers. Whereas the land use code is the regulatory document that could be applied to land we don't even know about yet.
Okay. I just think it's important for us to all work together to attain the top goal and being clear to the public and not, giving them a number to hang their hat on when it's well below what the hard work that you guys are obviously doing with just the developments I'd mentioned. Mountain Village is Ilium, but Mian?
I mean, I think to that point, that was my biggest concern in hearing that number is that we have obviously heard from other experts that we need a significantly larger number of housing units. And so I want to be very clear with the public that the number that was just utilized is not truly accurate to fit the needs of the housing crisis that we are currently in and the one that we will continue to be in, for the foreseeable future. And I just also want us to really recognize as you go through this process, and obviously we will all be participating actively in that process, but that the likelihood is that with the geographical constraints of development in the town of Telluride and in Mountain Village, a lot of this housing is going to be in the county as well. And so I want us to just be really mindful that there will be more housing being built in the county. And I think that it is important, especially from the town of Telluride's perspective, that we are all equal partners in funding that need for our community.
I just want to chime in a little bit because I think that the way that the housing needs assessment was written too is that it allowed for people to not just describe like their current desperate emergency need, what Mian is saying, but also allowed people to say what their preferences would be. And I think that also is an interesting thing that I don't think has really been dived into, the difference between somebody who has stable housing down valley, but when given an option and asked a question would say, hey, I would love to live in a single family home within the bounds of Telluride. That to me, it's like there wasn't any way to kind of look at, it was not presented to us in a way that said, here are people that have a specific housing that meets their needs in a location that isn't necessarily maybe in the location that they want. I think that's why that number that you presented, the two numbers that you gave us were 1,100 is a need, and then there's 200 of that are in the county. That was based on the preference of those people in the current housing that they're in. So I think that that's, again, part of the housing needs assessment that I still haven't gotten a clear understanding on, the kind of where the nexus between need and desire and want, which are all valid. Of course, it's like we all have wants and desires that we would have. But again, when we're looking at something that's at a crisis level, where do we draw the line to, like, what is an actual need versus what if people were given an option and had, you know, anything that they wanted in the world, where would they want? That to me is like something that I don't think has clearly been addressed. I did have one more question just before, because I don't want us to get too far ahead about, you showed that there's going to be this working group and people need to apply for that. I didn't see on the county website how to do that, or it wasn't clear to me. It looked like you could apply to be on a board, but it didn't have this specific board there. I'm just curious because there's a deadline for application, if that can be made clearer and so that people can know how to actually get their application in if they're interested in serving on the board.
So there's a couple of ways. You can go to just the general county website, and there's a box that says I want to, and you can type in apply for boards and commissions, and that'll take you directly to the page with the form that's filled out. Alternatively, you can go to the housing code update page, which lives in the planning department part of the website, and there is a link within on that web page that'll take you there as well.
So it says I'm on I want to. I'm just trying to, because I couldn't find it. So it says I want to, and it says apply for, and you're saying boards and commissions?
Yes.
There's applications, birth and death certificates, concealed handgun permit, food assistance,
Probably the top one.
applications and permits.
Can we potentially
can-
have a
It's
social
on the
media
main
post
page
and a
of the
link?
website. If
Where
you
is
look
it?
on the county website, it is one of the 3 big boxes at the bottom of the front page.
I'd say just make sure that the information is clear so everyone that wants that opportunity to serve can at least apply and be chosen.
We've been putting that link in our press release, our social media, our like I said, it's, you know, numerous places on our website. Any emails, any communication that we send out, it's in there. So hopefully you all can find it.
Great. We have some hands raised, and I want to hear from a couple of people from the village that would like to speak. We will start with Marty.
Thanks, and I don't want to be duplicative of things that have already been said by my colleagues in Tire Ed, but I do want to agree with many of the statements that they have made, specifically regarding sort of our need and desire to collaborate, especially when you get into the second phase of this process, in that, you know, partnership is going to, you know, take a lot of the stress off of all of our backs. And so, you know, I think what would be helpful is if, you know, we were, you know, if that framework could be shared with us as soon as possible, and we can begin having those conversations sooner rather than later, because they are already happening in Telluride and Mountain Village. And I know that they're happening at the county as well, but I think, you know, when we're working in silos, and I am repeating something that has been said in many intergovernmental meetings, so I apologize, but when we're working in silos, it seems as though, you know, we're not really moving the ball forward as efficiently as we could be. So I just, you know, I look forward to engaging and hoping, and, you know, hope that there is a, you know, clear framework within which we can collaborate, especially in this next phase moving forward.
Great. Thanks, Marty. Harvey, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, maybe it's a question or a comment. It's the focus of this is to amend the code to facilitate, you know, the more housing to be built. It strikes me just as a layperson that we have a lot of expertise in our real estate community, whether it's developers, construction, etc. But I didn't see that group specifically identified as an input group and on the commission or whatever. And I'm just curious, did I miss it, or how is that going to work?
So I didn't specifically list all of that, but when I mentioned about economic and professional experience, I mean, that definitely falls under there, and we do hope that we actually have received some applicants from people with experience in those realms, and we hope that we receive more. So we've yeah, we want people that you know, have the experience with real estate, with development, of, you know, finance, law, all of that. And then also in running, you know, developing housing, and also people with their lived experiences.
And Harvey, I've been kind of looking online a little bit through this, and if you go on the homepage for the county and click on the Stakeholder Strategic Roundtable is how it's titled. And if you click on that and it takes you to details, they did under who should apply, the last bullet point is professional and development, real estate, architectural, or related housing fields. So they did call it out.
Great, thanks.
Which is good.
And they're applying to, when you're putting in this application, are you applying to be on the planning commission?
You would, so there's a drop-down menu, and you would select strategic stakeholder roundtable.
Housing code update.
Housing code
That's what
update.
it's called.
Yes, that's what we
Okay.
called it. Couldn't remember what we settled on.
Housing code update.
Yeah.
Any other questions from any of our governmental entities, elected officials, or staff?
Just gonna make one quick comment. And I think most people that are on this call have heard me say this, but I had some pretty significant misgivings about the final report that we did receive in regards to the housing needs assessment. And so the one thing I want to ensure is that as we use that document to step forward to further planning, that we are not taking that as gospel, and that we are going back to the initial goals and ideals that we were trying to achieve when we first put out that RFQ, while still using the document that was provided to us. So.
Thank you, Mian. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, this is a work session, so we will open it up to public comment in the room. The floor is yours.
I have the highest respect for Kay Simonson as a planner. Like her, I have worked in conservative jurisdictions. You were Mesa County or the city of Grand Junction?
It was Mesa County, yeah.
Or Mesa County.
Among others.
You know, there's something about planning in the public interest in a conservative jurisdiction where something is done if it makes sense. Whereas in a liberal jurisdiction, there is very frequently politics that go into it, politics that have big dollar amounts attached to them, and do not result in a quality product, and very definitely undermines the public interest. I've been in this, a resident of Village Court Apartments for 11 years now. And if anything, my experience here shows the depth and the degradation and the sexual maliciousness of these politics, of these techniques. You know, the fact is it's talk, talk, talk. Everybody's nice to me. And everybody says they're going to do it, but I'm getting fucked. And the people of the young workers of this region are getting screwed as well. And if you can't handle the frankness of that, you're not able to manage this. This region is a failure. Some examples. How much time do I have?
1 more minute.
You know, the Down Valley Sewer Project. As it's currently constituted, Telluride is paying half of the wastewater treatment tap fees for the Four Seasons and the Six Sense hotel projects. Private sector finance mixed income projects can certainly be done, but we have seen no one who has developed any expertise in that. But we've got plenty of people who call themselves private sector who are sucking up at the trough. We talk about this 220 unit number. We should doing projects at 220 units a piece. The failure to do that in the lift 7, it's been reduced down to 30 and 40, as I understand it. You're just playing games with the voting population, which significantly includes 60% of the population of Telluride deed restricted housing, just above that 6. So,
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
I got more to say, but it's coming.
Zoe, do you want to there were a couple of things that I want to just clarify for
Yep.
the listening
That would-
public?
Sure.
Great.
Of course. We are not paying for the tap fees for the Four Seasons. For the Lift 7 neighborhood planning, there are 2 projects that is being discussed right now. One being Lot L and one being Chair 7, which both incorporate affordable housing. So I think the number of 40 that you said most likely is more for the Lot L project, which is actually, we're looking to have more than 40 units there. But for Chair 7, it is still, the programming goal was always between around 250 units, and that's still what's being programmed. So, yeah, of course, no problem, Mr. Tulip.
Zoe, thank you. And just a reminder to anybody, I certainly won't put up with foul language, and if it happens again, I'll shut you down right then and there. That's your prerogative, sir. But you got to be cordial, and I won't put up with it.
Well, stop fucking with me. You don't know what I'm talking about. They're not.
Okay. Any other questions from the public in regards to this item? That's enough. We'll call the marshals if you really want to stay and keep it up. Anybody else online with any questions? Seeing none. Kay, thank you very much. And Jared and Mike, great presentation. And that brings us to agenda item 1D, work session. And that is update on intergovernmental goals and objectives. And we have me and P.
Okay. Alrighty. Just as a quick reminder as to the reason that we undertook this exercise, we wanted to set goals and objectives that were that sort of transcended the entire region in order to utilize our talented staff, our electeds, and the community partners so that we could work collaboratively on goals and initiatives that we have in the past undertaken separately. We also wanted to streamline action-oriented meetings to be able to utilize these IG meetings more effectively to reach those goals. And we wanted to be more strategic in the communications and reporting to the group as well as to the public at large. And so there has been a IG goals and objectives subgroup that has met on a pretty regular basis. You've all seen the sort of master IG goals and objectives spreadsheet at previous meetings. This group has distilled it down into 3 core subject matters for 2026 to focus on. The first being community, vibrancy, connectivity, and recreation. The second being climate change, wildfire, emergency planning and management. And the third is regional transportation and regional infrastructure. What we have done is then taken these 3 categories and then broken them down into several initiatives. And so it would be regulatory initiatives, education initiatives, and then strategy and process development initiatives. So I'm going to run through each of these categories briefly. I'll send this out and then obviously solicit feedback in regards to any changes, modifications, or information that is missing from this presentation. The first category would be climate change. We have a group of stakeholders here. We'll have stakeholders from all municipalities, so the town of Telluride, Mountain Village, Norwood, Ophir, San Miguel County, as well as our community partners. And we've broken those into community partners, which is really more traditionally our nonprofits that are involved in those particular subject matters, as well as our boards and commissions, and the ski resort as sort of our other category. And then anybody that is in a quasi or other governmental entity. So whether it's the Forest Service, or any of our quasi-governmental organizations that are in the region as well. For climate change, planning and management, we're going to focus on a few key initiatives. The first is to encourage the regenerative agriculture and soil health practices that we see on the west end of the county. We want to also focus on conserving and protecting the natural resources in the region itself. We want to focus on supporting our local food systems and regional agriculture. And that's it. We've got subcategories and subtasks underneath each of these planning initiatives for the education component for climate as well. And then when we start talking through regulatory initiatives, this is where I think the municipal governments are going to really be able to focus a little bit more so on what we can do as far as regulations that we will create, both in our independent jurisdictions and then hopefully collaboratively in each so that they're reflective of each other. But we'll be promoting responsible development standards, encouraging green building practices, and then developing and applying climate adaptation strategies that will benefit the region as a whole. In order to focus on the strategy and process development for this, we want to ensure that we are moving towards transitioning and incentivizing for renewable energy resources, as well as strengthening our regional composting efforts. The last for climate is that we want to focus on climate advocacy and lobbying efforts, although I think at a subgroup level, we did recognize that really ultimately our greatest strength in climate change planning and management is going to be in what we will do as far as the regulations that we can put forth within our jurisdictions. The next category that we were going to focus on is the regional transportation and infrastructure plan. And so that, again, we will have all of our key stakeholders that we want to involve in these conversations. That will include groups like SMART, CDOT, as well as our transit departments in all of the municipalities, our fire department, the marshal's offices, as well as our sustainability and grant departments in the varying entities as well. For regional transportation, we identified a few key strategies that we really wanted to focus on in 2026. There are obviously a number of others, but these are the ones that we felt we could make some great headway on in the next 12 to 15 months. The first is to strengthen the year-round economic activity through utilizing regional transportation. This would include expanding gondola hours and targeted development programming and marketing strategies in order to support the business community in the region. The second was to develop a regional parking plan. Parking has been a hot topic here in the town of Telluride this summer, but has been an ongoing topic for all municipalities for a number of years now. And so in order to best serve the region as a whole, both now and in the future, we want to ensure that we are creating a regional plan for parking so that everything that each municipality is doing is reflective of what the others are focusing on as well, so that we ultimately come together to solve this problem or this challenge opportunity regionally. And then the next thing that we wanted to focus on was expanding and modernizing public transit options. And so this would be prioritizing the improvements that are going to enhance the regional connectivity, reduce emissions, and support sustainable solutions. We also wanted to focus on collaborating with SMART to do feasibility studies as far as expanding gondola services to Lossum, Ilium, other key locations that does not necessarily also just mean feasibility studies for gondola expansion, but also for extended bus services specific to the master plan that SMART has currently adopted. We want to ensure that we're focusing on enhancing regional mobility. So using the SMART's strategic operating plan, but also looking towards enveloping in other modalities. So whether it is pedestrian pathways, cycling networks, other transit linkages. We want to make sure that it is easy and seamless for the members of this community as well as our visitors to be able to get from one place to another using a variety of different modalities at their own of their own choice. The last thing that we wanted to focus on was exploring a localized delivery solution or electronic fleet integration. This really would ultimately be focusing on potential partnerships, infrastructure needs, and the environmental benefits that would determine the viability of a project like this, exploring the strategic shift of deliveries to reduce downtown congestion, and really making sure that we're looking at other peer communities, whether it's mountain towns or others, to see how they have been implementing solutions to the congestion, the vehicle congestion that they're seeing in their downtowns that we are seeing in ours as well. From a regulatory policy perspective, the group would like to focus on the regional wastewater facility and growth planning, both for wastewater and water, focusing specifically on water delivery and storage for Down Valley and Wrights Mesa's service areas. We want to ensure that we're assessing and strengthening the regional utility infrastructure as a whole. So conducting a comprehensive assessment of the existing utility systems to identify what we need in the immediate future, as well as long-term capacity challenges and opportunities. We wanted to use those findings to develop partnerships with the local and regional agencies to secure some funding, coordinate improvements, and enhance systems throughout the entire region as a whole. And then lastly, we wanted to implement sustainable and resilient technologies. So really focusing on adopting some energy efficient systems, water conservation measures, renewable energy sources, expanded infrastructure, EV charging stations, whatever it is that we know that is both technologically available now and will be in the future to meet our current and future sustainability goals. From an education perspective, this area, we really wanted to just focus on the West End, ensuring that there's regional education and communication around the West End infrastructure and partnership opportunities. This is certainly an area that I think the subcommittee feels that if there is a need for further educational components to regional transportation, feel free to just email me directly and I can add that I can bring that up with the subcommittee and then we can add that in if that's something that we feel like we need to address in 2026. The next is focusing specifically on community and recreation development. Again, we've got some stakeholders, they're the same usual suspects, but adding in really a lot more of our community because as we know, community programming and recreation really is going to affect almost every aspect of the community at large. So we added in the tourism board, the foundation, our school districts, the med centers, etc. For this particular category, we wanted to ensure the long-term accessibility of resort amenities. So we do want to work closely with the ski resort in order to make resort amenities accessible and available to residents and visitors both now and in the future, making sure that those resources continue to benefit the local community and draw tourism sustainably year over year. We want to also focus on promoting the cultural and recreation programs that reflect the community diversity. So really overseeing the feasibility of a regional recreation center has been a topic that has been brought up quite a bit, and we want to pursue that as a potential aspect of the community in the future, as well as supporting and expanding the cultural, educational, and recreational programs that we have today that truly celebrate the community's diverse backgrounds, their interests, their traditions. We want to ensure that we are bringing people together on a consistent basis. I think there was a very, very strong feeling from the subcommittee that, our greatest resource and our greatest asset in this region are our people, and we want to make sure that we are promoting and allowing them to interact with each other on a regular basis just to make the community stronger. The next thing that we wanted to focus on for 2026 was creating free community hubs on protecting the ones that we currently have to continue to promote that social cohesion I just mentioned. We want to inventory the existing free spaces to develop a plan to enhance those spaces, design their usage, maintain them in a way that's safe and accessible and is welcoming to all public, whether individuals or families. We wanted to then also focus on strengthening the community engagement itself. So really ensuring that the engagement pathways that we have with our residents and visitors allow them to actively participate in the town and regional planning and policymaking and community development so that they are not only a part of the solution, that they can truly advocate for their own particular viewpoints and allow us to build a community and recreation program that is that does serve everyone as a whole. We're going to use regional collaboration and some external consultants to enhance that outreach, ensure that accessibility, and really implement some targeted efforts so that we can engage with our underserved populations. For this, as far as the educational initiatives for community and recreation initiatives, we want to make sure that we are promoting the accessible and inclusive experiences. So encouraging and supporting the accessibility of the local experience and events to ensure that they are welcoming both to all residents and visitors. We want to make sure that those events reflect the community's diversity and inclusivity while we explore the innovative funding options that we can use to sustain free and low-cost events. And then we want to advocate for the long-term event management strategies that are going to enhance the accessibility, cultural representation, and community engagement while doing so. Okay, next. Okay. As far as regulation in this category, we want to ensure that the accessibility to the essential community services do exist. And so that is really focusing on those core tenets that make a community itself. So healthcare, early childhood care, youth programs, recreation, and public amenities, that they are all affordable, that they're all accessible, that they are equitably available to all of the residents that we have here. We want to prioritize family-friendly amenities and expanded childcare options to strengthen community involvement and their well-being and economic stability. And we want to use regulation to support the development of a new regional medical center to meet the growing healthcare demands of the region. Okay, so next steps. After this presentation that I just flew through, I'm going to send this out. I'd love for comments to come back. We're going to update the plan based on the comments that I receive, hopefully now and then over the next week. We will add in any other stakeholders that are either missing from the stakeholder page because I forgot to add them, or that maybe they are groups that we would like to further involve in these conversations. And then we're going to contact those groups as needed. We are going to then have the jurisdictions themselves create operational plans for each subject matter. The three, I would say, the town of Telluride, Mountain Village, and the county have all at the meeting sort of taken some ownership of different categories, and then we will create the operational plans to be able to meet the goals set forth in this IG goals and objectives exercise, and then we'll schedule and plan the presentations and discussions of these subject matters at future IG meetings and ensure that we are informing the group itself and then the public at large. Any questions?
Mean, great job laying it all out. I mean, it's an impressive document, and I think it's great. I would like to open up any questions for Mian. Maybe we'll start online this time versus in the room. And looks like Marty's got her hand up and gets to go first.
Thanks, Mian. As always, a really well organized presentation. Thank you. I did not hear whether one of the thoughts was to engage a facilitator to help. I know that it has sort of rested on the shoulders of individual council members on this subcommittee to create this framework, but moving forward to maybe move the needle. Is there any discussion about engaging someone from the outside to sort of, wrangle all of these very important, but yet difficult to get our arms around as individual council members.
That actually has not come up. I would personally love to never have to do a presentation and create a PowerPoint like this again. But I think that there's validity to that. These are some really big topics, and I think I think that is something that we should probably consider, but I think each municipality would have to look to see whether that's something that we can allocate budget funds to in 2026 to be able to achieve.
Yeah, I'm happy. This is Zoe. I'm happy to take the lead on reaching out on different facilitating options. A lot of times you have a facilitator help create the framework of these documents where we're already working well into that. And then it's just the execution kind of falls from that framework, and you don't have someone holding your hand too much through that piece with the check-ins. But I could have someone, I could look at what that facilitation could look like. And I think it would be more checking our work on this framework and then really honing in on those delegation plans that we've created.
Right.
I was just going to chime in. I think that maybe we've already kind of gone past the need for a specific facilitator on like the framework piece. It feels like we've got the framework pretty good. It seems like, as we go forward, if we could get like, what I feel like what we need to do is like, this still feels like really super broad. Like there's like a lot of things, a lot of, initiatives, a lot of stuff that it seems like what we could do is like, figure out which ones what is our goal for 2026? And then if we need to bring in outside, professional guidance or help in that way, that feels like the place where we would need it. I don't know if facilitating at this point it feels like we've done the work, I guess, is like the part. But I hear what Marty's saying is like, I feel like what we need is like, once we have like something that we're going to do, this is the thing that we're going to do in 2026, then it would be like almost like a project manager type person would come in to like, keep all municipalities on track and keep us moving in the right direction for like an actual identified goal versus like, I think that we've got kind of the big picture stuff. We've all spent a lot of time, I think, kind of getting that whittled down. So that would be my recommendation, is that if we get some tread going somewhere, that then we've like almost bring in somebody to be a project.
And I think there definitely is, like, when you see this, like there are a lot of feasibility studies kind of called out. So I do think that by the very nature of some of these things that we have to do, or that we've called out that we would like to do for 2026, I think that we will get some of that outside support that we're looking for, but maybe that's just something that the subcommittee needs to take a look at.
Yeah. And I'll kind of take a step back, with the last subcommittee meeting, really 100%, we took that big document and was like, this is too much. So that's why we broke it down into those three larger groups, with the hopes of having a leader for each of those groups to really help with that facilitation and tackle, okay, what's the action for 2026, and keeping those on track. Because to your point, it was too much to ask someone to help, to delegate each or facilitate each. So we broke it out in that piece. So I think the net, as Mian said, getting the comments, I would like to see the subcommittees and then those delegated to each of these subcategories taking ownership of that, where that could kind of take us from a leadership perspective to see traction, and then see what additional help we need from there.
I think once we get, because Mian said she was going to send us the slides, right? So I think also like once we get that as individuals in each of our municipalities, we can individually go through, look at them as well, send our feedback and stuff like that. Because I think that will help, because it's like, it's a great document. It's just an incredible amount of information to try and absorb and wrap your mind around in a single presentation.
Yeah. And over time, you may need to have that neutral party kind of leading everyone through their tasks as elected officials and staff, inevitably change.
Yeah. I'll put it out to the ether and see kind of what services are out there, just to even get an idea.
Any other questions from the government entities for Mian on this presentation? It is a work session. It doesn't look like there's anyone in the room with any questions. Tiffany, double check that there's not a hand raised? No. Okay. Mian, thank you. That was super detailed and it was awesome, really. Thank you for that. And that brings us to agenda item number 2, other business. Maybe we'll go around and give each entity the opportunity if they have other business, and we'll start with San Miguel County and whether it's Lance or Mike, if you've got anything else to bring up.
Mike just stepped away from his office for a moment. Jared, do you want to give any update?
You know what, Jared's not in the room and
He's not in the room. That's right. It's just other business. So if there's no other business, that's great. No pressure. And we can skip over to Mountain Village. And if Mike comes back on the call and has something to chime in, great. Any other business from anyone with the town of Mountain Village, whether it's Marty or Paul?
I've been talking a lot, Paul, if you wanted to give any updates.
Yeah, I think at the last gathering we had here, Ilium was loosely referenced, and I think there was some question as to where we were in that process. So just to clarify, at our last council meeting, we did sign or approve a pre-development agreement with Triumph Development West. That has not yet been executed, but we are now in that phase where we are going through due diligence and beginning the process of design of the first phase of that project, which will ultimately end up before the county for entitlement. So it is a very real intangible effort on our part to get more housing within the region. And we're looking forward to that process with everybody involved.
Great. Thanks, Paul. Anyone else?
And moves at the conference center tonight.
And don't forget about the Sunset Concert Series, on Wednesday. Anybody else with other business from the town of Mountain Village? Seeing none, I will open it up to us if we've got anything that we need to, any other business?
the only thing I'll just remind everyone of is that the town of Telluride is kicked off our comprehensive plan process. So as we are all doing great engagement with the community, if there are any coordination efforts, just so we don't get exhaustion of that input. But we've kicked that off in our first phase, and we now have a survey that is out that I believe, I don't know when it closes, but it's out right now to continue to get input. And they will be back here in the fall, September, October, for some more community engagement opportunities beyond just the digital that we're doing right now. So to keep that.
Great. Last chance for anyone to speak up, or we're going to wrap up. Seeing no other comments, I'd just like to thank everyone in the room, both the public, elected officials and staff, and as well as everyone online from all the entities to have this intergovernmental meeting. And we will see everybody around campus, and I will adjourn by mutual consent.